Marques Hagans is out as wide receivers coach at the University of Virginia, and the fan base explodes.
You are Locked On Virginia, your daily podcast on the Virginia Cavaliers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Good day, viewers and listeners. I am your host, Big Law Lawrence Johnson, and welcome to the Locked On Virginia Cavaliers podcast, the first place to come to get your Wahoo fix every day as part of the Locked On Podcast Network. The date is 1/25/2023. Yes, it is your hump day here at Locked On Virginia, and we're going to help you get over that hump so that it's all downhill, running right into the weekend. Our title sponsor today is FanDuel. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/Locked On today to get started. So yes, everybody, as I said, in the beginning here, with Marques Hagans out as the wide receivers coach for the University of Virginia Cavaliers, the fan base is irate. It explodes. I don't know if I've seen such a visceral, and maybe visceral is a little strong, but maybe a visceral act or a fan base being, this fan base in particular, being so upset over losing a coach. And the reason why is because, Marques Hagans is, a homegrown player. And let me give you the history why he's so beloved and why, everyone is really upset with what's going on. And some of this, is from speculation, but some of it, I can't say everything, but some of it, you can read between the lines. But I'm going to give you, some of the real of what I know, and some of the things that I've heard. I'm going to kind of give it to you now. So Marques Hagans, yes, homegrown product from the Hampton Roads area, from the 757, played on the peninsula in Hampton Roads. And, of course, everybody knows how talented the 757 is in the state of Virginia. Of course, it's where, Chris Slade is from. It's where Terry Kirby's from. It's also from where Michael Vick is from. It's just a ton of talent that have come out here. Andrew Brown, Quinn Blanding, have come out of 757. So in order to really capture the state, I think you really have to do a great job of recruiting the 757, Southeast Virginia, if you really want to claim the state of Virginia, which the entire recruiting classes in all of the Power 5 schools in the state of Virginia has been getting their lunch money taken from them, from the likes of Penn State, and we'll talk about that and what Penn State means and how significant it is, and also North Carolina. So the two states, one above and one below the state, have been poaching the hell out of the state of Virginia's athletes, and I don't see any, nothing in sight that's going to slow that down. But let's get back to Marques. Marques, like I said, from 757 Hampton Roads area, was an incredible athlete coming out of Hampton, the city of Hampton. Had a great, and I mean a great, a high school career before going to college. Had a good college career as well. Remember, he played quarterback for the Wahoos later in his college career, but he was a wide receiver at first, and he could, the guy could pretty much do anything, that you wanted him to do. He was that much of a difference maker all over the field. So, him converting to a quarterback from a wide receiver, vice versa, the man could just do anything. He was the epitome of a team player. When we're talking about someone who says, "I'll do it, coach," he was the "I'll do it, coach" kind of a player. When something needed to get done, he did it, and he did it at a high level. And, his nickname, which the fan base affectionately calls him Biscuit. Okay, so whenever you heard somebody say that name, they're talking about Marques Hagans. So he has a very soft spot for the hearts of the University of Virginia fan base. Now, keep in mind, Marques Hagans coached for 3 different regimes, and he came out of he came out, or he's been an alum since 2005 when he graduated and got out. He was 12 years on the coaching staffs at Virginia. Think about that. He's pretty much a lifer, a Wahoo for life. Which is why I think a lot of the fan base is really upset with what's going on. I mean, he's gonna, you know, out. Usually, before we even talk about driving anybody out, usually whenever you get a new coaching staff, okay, so you had Grow, right? Then you bring in London, okay? London comes in. London appoints him because he was a grad assistant. London appoints him as the wide receivers coach. That's right, as a wide receivers coach in 2013, and was probably the best move, and probably the best position that UVA has had over the past 12 years. Since Marques Hagans has had that position over time, the wide receivers have probably played the best on this team. And, when I look at the way that he left, and what he left, is going to leave an incredible gaping hole not having someone, the caliber of Marques Hagans. But yes, went through 3 coaches, 12 years, coaching regimes. Usually when you lose a coach or a coach leaves or is fired, usually they clean house because the coaches will bring in, their own staff, and, you have to go find another job with another football program. So he came, Mark, coach, who's at William and Mary right now, Coach London, appointed Marques Hagans as the receivers coach in 2013. Of course, we know what happened with Coach London. Just didn't work out, didn't have enough wins. He was let go. Then you had Bronco Mendenhall come in. And nothing, I'm not saying anything negative about Bronco, but if you know anything about Bronco Mendenhall, he's the word quirky kind of comes to mind, and it's not in a negative way. I don't want people to take it that way, but he's a very different thinker. He's a little bit of a different communicator, especially to the press, or to the outward world outside of his the sanctity of his team, in the locker room. Of course, in the locker room, the kids loved him. They absolutely loved him, and you can tell by the way they celebrated in the locker rooms. You never saw any of that, with this last regime, but that's another episode. We may touch on it a little bit, but goodness, that's another episode. But he withstood, being, in the Bronco Mendenhall regime, and did well, which is what he did most of his damage, meaning how successful his players were coming out of that air raid system. And the receivers were just top notch. I want to say, what is it? Of the past 15 years, or 13 years, what is it? Almost 9 or 10 of his guys are in the top 10 of receiving at the University of Virginia. Unreal. Absolutely unreal. Phenomenal coach, man. Phenomenal coach as a person builder. Sure, X's and O's, we get that part. But coaching is a lot more. As we know, if you've ever coached, it's a lot more than X's and O's. And, when you get into those X's and O's, you need some mind share. You need some buy-in from these players in order for them to trust you, in order for you to implement, the product you're trying to feed them. And think about it. He's went through 3 different staffs, all different philosophies. So, I don't know if I'm giving you a tribute to Coach Hagans, which it seems like I'm doing that right now, but I got to talk about this because I did a show last night on one of my other platforms, and it was a long show, and it was very explosive and emotional. So I'm going to get to that, and I'm going to tell you guys kind of what was said and just kind of give you a little bit of a state of the fan base for the University of Virginia's football program. The playoffs are here. We are really excited about the new sports betting partner for the Locked On platform because they're the number one sports book in America, FanDuel. And if you're new to FanDuel, that's even better. They have so many great features that make betting on sports fun and easy. New customers join today to get started with $150 in free bets. Guaranteed. When you place your first $5 bet, just sign up at fanduel.com/lockedon. FanDuel has all the favorite bets from the money line to point spreads to player props. Plus, you can even combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with the same game day parlay. All on the app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. So football fans, don't miss out. Place your first $5 bet to get $150. It's free money, free bets, win or lose at fanduel.com/locked on. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partnered with the NFL. Thank you for making Locked On Virginia your first listen of the day. Make sure you check out the brand new podcast, Locked On College Basketball. Everything you need to know about college basketball in one place, plus hear from big name experts, insiders, coaches, and players. Locked On College Basketball available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. So yes, everybody, jumping back into what Coach Hagans meant to this community and this program. Quite frankly, he did the best job out of all of the coaches on the staff. And one of my colleagues, that are in the press box with me, we had some long conversations about this. What just happened about Coach Hagans getting not or leaving, and then we kind of was thinking, Coach Hagans has the chops and you can just see it sometimes when you say, that person's going to be a Power 5 head coach. You could just see that in Coach Hagans. He's going to run somebody's Power 5 program or definitely a head coach of the rest of a 5 program. So he's going to get a chance to coach. He just has it. And like I said, he's a native son of Virginia and is beloved from all over. So where he's going is Penn State. I said earlier, I would tell you where it is and why it's significant. Penn State has taken like the top out of the top 10 players in the state. Penn State almost has half of them. I think they have 3 to 4 players out of the state of Virginia. At least in the top 15, they have 4 or 5 kids. Which is unreal to get them out of the state of Virginia. And have them go up there. And then on top of it, North Carolina on the back end is just really just dragging, the Virginias and the Virginia Techs, in this state for athletes and recruits. But Marques Hagans will be going to the Penn State Nittany Lions. The coach up there, they're getting a great one. Now, the coach who he took over for was Taylor Stubblefield. Taylor Stubblefield was the wide receivers coach and head of recruiting for the University of or Penn State University. Now Marques Hagans will fill that role entirely. So he's going to be running the recruiting and coaching the receivers. Why this lateral move? This is where it gets greasy, or it gets kind of tough, because reports have been said that Coach Elliott and Coach Hagans really didn't see eye to eye on a lot of things. I think that wasn't only the case in Hagans' departure. I want to say maybe, Coach Touche is not there for a reason as well. And, I think there's a lot of players who left for a reason. Um, I, I, I can't say for sure. I can't tell you that it's the gospel, that it's, the total truth of why, but, you hear it so many times, and you hear it from different people, and it's coming to you the same way from the sources, I reckon. And I'm kind of hot and cold on sources. Depends on who it is, but there was a story that's going around. It's buzzing about how Marques Hagans was belittled in front of not only the staff, okay, but in front of the students, in front of the players he's coaching, in front of the team. I don't know what coach would do that to one of his coaches on his staff. I don't care what his position is. Coach Hagans is also, remember, his title wasn't only wide receivers coach, he was assistant head coach. So he had, some experience and cachet, there, because he had been there for so long before, you know, the word is, source say that he was belittled in front of the players is a huge red flag and very concerning for Coach Hagans. There are more things coming. There are more things that are happening with the current head coach, and I don't know the man personally. I just cover, and you speak here and there, and it's really odd, or it's peculiar when you see it coming from not just the professionals, the staff, or disagreements, strong disagreements with philosophies in the staff, but you get it a lot from the players. You see a lot of the players almost feel like this was a mistake to be here at the University of Virginia under this coach. And the show that I did last night was one of those ones that is for the books, for the archives, to go back and watch, and to and to study and take notes on, because there was a lot of things that was said that from my other team members, my Seven City Shop Talk members. There was also a lot that was said from the fan base. There, I can listen to messages or watch messages come across the message board, and the fan base is absolutely irate. They are so upset that it almost feels like a force out, even though I think Marques Hagans just left. And, it's almost like he left, some people saying, because it was kind of an abusive situation, or a situation that was not for him. Now, I don't know if any of this is totally true, but it just felt like the kind of thing that you don't recover from. If you had, one of your superiors speak to you in a certain manner, such a disrespectful manner that there's almost no way to to come back from it, in the eyes of your peers, in the eyes of the players that you're coaching. But that's kind of the thing, so he's going to Penn State. Marques Hagans is, in the pretty much almost the same capacity. He's one of the top recruiters here at Virginia. He'll be the top dog recruiter, recruiting coach at Penn State, and the receiver coach. But don't forget, another legendary Wahoo, one of the biggest legends of all time. Anthony Poindexter's up there. He's coordinating the defense. He's a defensive coordinator up there. So right now, outside of the players, in Penn State eating Virginia's lunch when it comes to recruiting, How about Penn State is eating Virginia's lunch when it comes to their own coaches as well? I think it's, it makes me a little emotional. I think it's very pitiful. I think that, and I get it. I get it. Sometimes you can't get all of them. You want to, kind of do right by your people, which is really what college always tends to be. You want to take care of your own. And this is not, this has not been a take care of your own situation. Respect is something I think is that's earned, and I don't know if you can earn it with some of the philosophy with the with my way or the highway kind of philosophy coming into the building. That's kind of what I've been hearing from leadership, from the top leadership on the football program, and it has not gone over well. I think that a lot of people are upset that the fact that um, we can't talk about the past and what has happened with the success of the offense and the success of what Bronco had and the Nye had when we're talking about the UVA's passing attack. But when you bring it up, it's something that's frowned upon by the head coach. But maybe sometimes he can harken back to when he's talking about Clemson. So it's almost like it's a it's a a double-edged sword, or a it's not equal. It's almost like saying one thing, doing another, and that's something that's been out there as well. In the in the media place, you know, in the information, in the rumor mills, that's something that's been going on as well. And I kind of feel like that this is. I don't want to call it like the beginning of the end, unless there needs to be a huge turnaround. I don't know if Coach Elliott has the humility somewhat to come in and speak to his staff and understand that we're in trouble right now, as a team. We're absolutely in trouble going into this year. The recruiting, even though they did a good job of trying to maintain the players that they had recruited to come, but a lot of the players were 3 stars. We lost a lot of players because of the tragedy, coming off of the tragedy and then trying to get these kids to play, these young men to play. I just really wonder what's going on behind the scenes. I gotta get with one of my guys and a few of my other media folks and just kind of get an idea what the environment is like right now. Now that these young men have to go out and play football after a terrible year, and it seemed like it was kind of like a mutiny or a revolt that was getting ready to happen, with the philosophy and not melding with it and not, doing what needs to be done, which I'm all for a coach coming in and implementing something. But I don't know if Virginia is or was in the position to demand and to make sure that it's a my way or the highway situation, because you need those players. You need to, come almost endear yourself to some of those players that are going to play for you every Saturday. Maybe some compensation or compensation, not compensation, um, some, working with each other, working with each other on consideration, on working with each other, on trying to figure out, all right, I'll give a little, but you guys have to do this, and maybe some of that went on. It didn't seem like it showed out on the field that much, but it just seemed like it was a my way or highway situation. It didn't go over well, and something has to change this year because the philosophy's not working. The emotional buy-in from your vets didn't seem to work. So things have to change in a hurry, I think, in order to, and you got to bring in more talent. You know, I think they did do a decent job, actually a pretty good job in the transfer portal. But if anybody knows anything, you don't build your team through the transfer portal. The lifeblood of your team are your recruits that you bring in and what level of talent they are. We got a ton of 3-stars. I think we got 1 or 2 4-stars, and I don't know how much those 3-stars are going to play. I know the 4-star linebacker, he'll probably play, but I don't know, man. This is a difficult situation to navigate all around, and us in the media, we're all just we have our popcorn just waiting to see what the next steps are when it comes to this football program. Because right now, it's only been 1 year, and I think it's a mess right now. And just my personal opinion, it's a mess, and it's not all coach's fault. But he's in charge of this of this situation right now. He's in charge of the bus, and he's got to get this bus going in the right direction. Not to mention he has to train these young men. He has to help these young men get over the tragedy of the loss of their brothers, in November. So this is difficult, guys, and I just had to let this out, because it was such an explosive show last night, and it had to be talked about. But make sure you guys subscribe. And my question is, how long do you think Tony Elliott stays at Charlottesville on the grounds as the coach of the University of Virginia Wahoo's Cavaliers? I got to know. I want to hear your comments. I want to see your comments, and then I can respond as well. But keep in mind also, North Carolina, Virginia, and Boston College play at noon at the JPJ this Saturday. I will be there, ready to watch this team continue to soar. Clemson got a win last night, and they look good doing it. They played tough. So Clemson is up to 8-1. Wahoo's at or 9-1, excuse me, and the Wahoos are up to 7-2. Just holding on to the second place position in the ACC standings. The Hurricanes are 7-3. They're right on their heels. So UVA has to win this game to separate themselves fully, and have a full 1-game lead over those pesky Hurricanes. But this has been a good show. This is a show that will continue to bring you, the raw and give you, all the real stuff that's happening, around the ground, on the grounds, at University of Virginia. But before we get out of here, we got to thank you for making Locked On Virginia your first listen every day. Make sure you check out our brand new podcast, Locked On College Basketball. Everything you need to know about college basketball in one place. Plus, hear from big name experts, insiders, coaches, and players. Locked On College Basketball available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. Make sure you share, you like, okay, and subscribe. Like, share, and subscribe. Say that 3 times. Thank you, guys. We love you. We'll see you tomorrow. Go Wahoos.